What's up everybody? I'm back with a highly requested video, which is a video all about factor stacking. I have been really surprised by the amount of people that have asked me what the heck is factor stacking and could you please explain it? I have touched on factor stacking a little bit here and there on our lives and some other videos, but today we are going to dive deep and this video is all about factor stacking and answering you guys' questions. Today we're going to talk about what the heck is factor stacking, why and when you should use it. I'll also give you some real life examples as to how this works. We'll take a look at comps together. And then at the end, I will talk about some of my favorite factors that I use to stack and which ones I think are the most valuable. Let's get started. So it took me forever to try and figure out what I would call the definition of factor stacking, because even though I have explained it in several videos, I explain it a different way every time, and clearly it is not making sense because I still get asked that question. Factor stacking is not a new concept that I created. This is something resellers have done for a while. I just called it factor stacking one day and then I just never stopped. So that's what we call it here at the office. And I don't know why I called it that. It just made sense in the moment, and so we refer to it as factor stacking. So I wrote down like many definitions and ended up crossing most of them out. And here is the one that I think is the most simple and the one that I came up with. Factor stacking is picking up an item regardless of brand because it has multiple sellable features. Does that make sense? So we use factor stacking all the time. Why should you use it? Well, sometimes sourcing can be kind of tough. You can't always rely on finding really good brands. And so when you can't find good brands in your area, maybe for a short period of time, or maybe you live in the middle of nowhere, then you need to rely on factors. And so a lot of items have sellable features, factors, whatever you want to call it, that can make them more valuable than other items within the same brand. At the end of the video, I'll talk about some of those factors. But if you're someone who's out in the middle of nowhere, or maybe just the season of sourcing is difficult for you, then focusing on factors rather than finding good brands could really save you if you're trying to hit a certain goal for the quantity of items that you're trying to source. Not to mention, once I started doing factor stacking, I took some risks on brands I wouldn't normally get, and I learned that there's a following for specific materials, sizes, and other things within brands that people really look for. And it's really just opened up a whole new world to me of sourcing. So let me give you a couple examples as to how this works. You can do this with men's, women's, or kids, or even home goods. I'm just going to stick with the women's category today, but feel free to do this on some other things. So let's start with a brand I come across pretty often, which is Talbot's. Not sure if you guys have sourced that brand or not, but it can be really hit or miss. So let's just look up Talbot's top. All right, so we're going to go to the pre-owned condition because most of us are going to be thrifting these items. And you can see that we have 62,000 plus results. Now you guys know I'm all about the sell-through rate, so let's check that sell-through rate. When we go to the solds, 15,000. So 15,000 have sold in the last 90 days, 62,000 are available. Not the greatest sell-through rate for Talbot's women's tops as a whole. I would say Talbot's in general is not something that people really seek after. But fear not, there are still some things in Talbot's that you can get. So let's do a little bit of factor stacking magic, and let's add to this search 3X, which is a plus size, and the material linen. We're already filtered to pre-owned, and we can see that there are 34 results. Going to the solds, 68 sold. So 68 in the sold versus the 30 something, I've already forgotten the number, in the available category. That's like a 200% sell-through rate within 90 days, which means it's probably going to sell within a month and a half if you list it correctly. So this is a great example of factor stacking and being able to find items that have a good sell-through rate and can sell within your business model. And this is why I say to never completely cross out a brand off of your list. Okay, let's do another one. This is another brand that I come across all the time. It is Aerie. Let's go with Aerie leggings. So there are about 5,000 available of just Aerie leggings. We didn't drill down to anything else. And there are 696 sold results. So not a great sell-through rate. And if we look, most of them are going for 10, 15. There's 2 pairs that went for 25. In general, not really a high dollar amount. So bad sell-through rates and not a high ASP. But let's add to this search using factor stacking, and we'll add 2 factors that I know are really popular right now, which are crossover, waistband, and flare. In pre-owned available, we have 56 results. And in the solds, we have 55 in the solds. So that's about pretty much 100% sell-through rate, right? And let's see what they're going for. There are some that are going for a lower amount, but I generally list these at 25 and they usually sell for me. All right, let's try one more. We're gonna do Skechers women's boots. In pre-owned, we have about 3,800 available. That's for pre-owned, and then in the solds, 524 sold. So again, not a great sell-through rate. Now let's add to this with 2 factors that I know are really popular right now, which are a chunky platform and the Y2K aesthetic. So in available pre-owned, I searched Skechers women's boots, chunky Y2K. Within the available pre-owned, we have 87 results. Going to the solds, 96 results, over a 100% sell-through rate for a brand that in general was not doing very well. And you guys can see these sold comps are like amazing. I'm sharing a little secret with you guys right now because I have been picking up style-based shoes like this for a while, and they have been selling for like 40, 50, sometimes like over $100 just from the chunky and the Y2K aesthetic. And yeah, Skechers can be a really good brand for that. So those are some examples of factors that can really make a difference and how you can use factor stacking while you are outsourcing to determine whether to pick an item up or not, and hopefully be able to add some more things to your cart that you can get listed. And again, if I'm being honest, like the best thing about this for me is that it just opens up my mind to more sourcing opportunities. So you don't have to feel trapped if you live in a small town or if it's just a bad sourcing week and you're not finding any great brands. You can rely on some factor stacking and pull yourself through the week. And lastly, we're going to talk about some of my favorite factors that I like to stack, and this is just purely opinionated and what I have seen based on doing my own sold comps, but I think that these are the best and most valuable factors. Number 1 for me is larger sizes. The larger the size, typically the better, and that is true for both women's and men's. I found the sweet spot is generally speaking extra large and all the way up to plus size. Again, true for both men's and women's. I think extra large actually for men's is like my all-time bestseller size in the men's category. And so if I see something that I wouldn't typically get, but it's a size extra large, plus size, or higher, then I might consider looking that up if I'm able to pair that with another sellable feature. Number 2 for me is material. So any kind of really great luxurious material. My favorites are typically cashmere and linen, although there are plenty of other ones. So if I see something that is an extra large or higher and it's cashmere, regardless of brand, I'm probably going to do a comp on that. And make sure when you're doing your comps to add those factors into your search because it does make a big difference. Third on the list would be popular trending aesthetics. We mentioned Y2K earlier, that's a really popular one. Barbiecore is also really popular right now. I'm not sure how long that trend is gonna go since the movie just came out, but it was really popular. And fourth and the last one that I consider to be pretty darn important is length. So if you have a dress, it being midi or maxi length can really make a difference. If you have a top, it being long sleeve versus short sleeve. And again, make sure you're being a little bit specific when you are checking comps. If you have a short sleeve, if you have a long sleeve, if it's midi or if it's maxi, because again, those do make a tremendous difference on whether you should pick an item up or not. And also if you do pick it up, how much you are going to list it for. I know I'm going to get this question, so I'm going to answer it here. Is there a number that I look for factor stacking? Meaning, does there have to be 2 or more factors for me to pick something up? Does there have to be 3 or more? It doesn't matter to me because the comps tell me what I need to know. In my opinion, the more sellable features, the better. But in general, I will look something up if I notice something has at least 2 factors that are stacked. So I hope that you guys found this helpful. I know this was a highly requested video, and I hope I did a good job of explaining it in a clear and simple way. Hope that you guys are empowered next time you go sourcing and be able to look for things more than just brands. If you like this kind of content and you're not already, please consider subscribing down below and hitting that notification bell. You'll be notified every single time I post new content. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.